Welcome to SingleEverAfter. Join me as I journey through the jungle of dating in search of my true love. There's a quiet fear that can show up in relationships, even healthy ones. The fear of disappearing, not dramatically, not completely, just slowly, in small ways, adjusting, accommodating, prioritizing the relationship in ways that make you harder to recognize yourself. And sometimes that fear isn't about the relationship itself. It's about memory. Memory of who you were in past relationships. Memory of how you showed up before. Memory of moments where love and self-abandonment became tangled together. And even when things are healthy, that memory can still exist. Because growth doesn't erase history. It just changes how you respond to it. There's a difference between showing up responsibly in a relationship and losing yourself inside of it. But that difference isn't always obvious because both can look like compromise. Both can look like care. Both can look like effort. And if you've ever been in relationships where you slowly became smaller, it can be hard to trust the difference. For a long time, I associated love with adjustment. If something wasn't working, I would adapt. If something felt tense, I would soften. If something felt uncertain, I would over-explain. Not because anyone asked me to, because I thought that's what being a good partner meant. But responsibility in a relationship isn't about disappearing. It's about staying present as yourself. And that distinction took me time to understand. There was a moment recently where I noticed this shift in myself. We were making a decision together, something small, but shared. And I felt the familiar instinct to immediately accommodate, to agree quickly, to keep things smooth, to avoid friction. That instinct felt automatic. But instead of moving past it, I paused. And I said what I actually wanted. Not forcefully, not defensively, just honestly. And you know what? Nothing bad happened. The conversation stayed calm. We talked, we adjusted, we moved forward. And I remember noticing how different that felt. Because in the past, honesty sometimes felt risky. But this time, it didn't. It just felt normal. And that moment showed me something important. Staying myself didn't threaten the relationship. It strengthened it. Healthy relationships make space for two full people. Not one person adapting to keep harmony. Two people existing honestly. That doesn't mean there's never compromise. It just means compromise doesn't come from fear. It comes from mutual care. And mutual care feels very different from self-abandonment. Self-abandonment feels anxious, urgent, protective. Mutual care feels steady, collaborative, safe. And learning that difference takes practice. Because responsibility in love doesn't mean shrinking. It means staying present. There was another moment recently where I noticed this shift in a quieter way. I made a decision for myself without checking how it would affect the relationship first. Not in a dismissive way, not in a defensive way, just normally. I planned something that mattered to me, something that supported my own life outside of the relationship. And afterward, I noticed I didn't feel guilty. That stood out to me because in the past, I sometimes felt responsible for keeping emotional balance in relationships, even when nothing was wrong. But this time, I trusted that both things could exist, my independence and the relationship. And nothing about that choice threatened the connection. If anything, it made me feel more grounded inside it. That moment reminded me that partnership doesn't require constant adjustment. Sometimes it just requires honesty and trust. I think part of growing in relationships is learning how to stay yourself while loving someone else. Not protecting yourself from love, not disappearing into love. A lot of people do that. Just existing honestly inside of it. That balance can feel unfamiliar if you've known relationships where emotional safety depended on adjustment. But love doesn't require you to shrink. And responsibility doesn't require you to disappear. Healthy partnership allows both people to exist fully. And learning to trust that takes time. Because staying yourself can feel vulnerable, but it can also feel freeing. If you've ever wondered or worried about losing yourself in love, if you ever confuse compromise with self-abandonment, if you've ever felt unsure how to stay yourself while being a partner, you're not alone. That balance is something many of us learn slowly. And learning it doesn't mean you love less. It means you love more honestly. I'm still learning how to choose partnership without abandoning myself. Still learning how responsibility and identity can coexist together. Still learning how love can expand who you are instead of shrinking you. And maybe that's part of what healthy love teaches. Not how to become someone else, but how to stay yourself consistently. I'm really glad you're here, and I'll talk to you next time.